So we're going to talk about adult, and here's adult. There's just one part to adult. And it's the here and now. Do you remember parent? Thoughts, feelings and behaviours copied from parents or grown-up figures. Do you remember child? Thoughts, feelings and behaviours replayed from childhood. Copied, replayed. And adult is the here and now. So when we make a decision in adult, we're using all the resources, everything we know about now. Everything that's up here now, that's not contaminated by the past. Some people are very good at it, but most people aren't. And most people, in my experience, don't access their adult. And life becomes a lot easier when we do. When we don't come from copied, when we don't come from replayed, when we make the decision now. And people have often asked me, how do I make that decision now? Well, that's what we're going to go on to learn. Remember, thoughts, feelings and behaviours. Copied, replayed. And so what I say to help you get into adult now, how am I feeling? What do I want? What do I need? All people said to me, doesn't that mean that's selfish? No. Thinking about self is not selfish. In fact, the more we think about self, the better we're going to be. Because we can think about what we want, how we feel, how do I feel, what do I want, what do I need? We'll talk about that next time in more detail. But if we know that, then we can make an informed choice from adult, and that will be right for us. I mean, it doesn't mean we're selfish. Supposing somebody's asked me to do something, just supposing. In adult, I say, how do I feel? Exhausted. I'm exhausted. That's how I feel. What do I want? I want to go to bed. What do I need? I need to make myself a hot drink and get myself up there. However, I'm an adult and I can choose what to do. I'm no shoulds or musts, no rebellious child saying shan't or oh I should. No, I'm making an informed choice, and the informed choice is I can do it, I know I can do it, I'll help them, and then I'll get myself straight to bed. I'm making that choice. So it doesn't mean I'm selfish. It doesn't mean to say, oh no, I'm going to get up those stairs. No, it means I make an informed choice, but I know how I'm thinking, feeling, wanting, needing. We'll talk about that a lot more. But adult is the here and now, no contamination. So I'm just going to read you a little bit. I think it sums it up, and it's the best way of me talking about these ego states and how they shift. It's what we do. We shift through them. Of course, we do have our favourites, and we can make what we call, let me see if I can show you, and it's something, we're talking about journaling. It's something you might like to do. So draw yourself a line. Controlling parent, nurturing parent, adult, free child, adapted child. I would put rebellious child in there too. And then do yourself what they call an egogram and see over maybe say a few days or whatever it is, it's up to you. Draw your egogram, and then you'll find out what to what you learn about yourself. I mean, I can just access that, but you may need to draw it. It's a good thing. See, am I usually an adapted child? Oh, free child, rebellious child, controlling parent, nurturing parent? And don't forget the, plus and the minus and all of that. Yeah. So if you want to do some journaling, that might be a good thing to do. And just notice your behaviors, your thoughts and your feelings. So I'm going to read you this, see if you can get the gist of it. Jane is driving her car along a road crowded with traffic. Second by second, she's observing the position and speed of other vehicles around her. She's looking out for road signs. She controls her car in response to what's going on round about her, here and now. Jane is in her adult ego state. Just then, another driver passes Jane, cuts in sharply in front of her. For a fraction of a second, Jane feels scared that the two cars will crash. She flashes a glance in her driving mirror, sees the road behind is clear, and slows slightly so the crash is avoided. All the time, she has stayed in her adult ego state. Her feeling of scare was an appropriate response to the here and now danger, helping her body react more quickly in order to avoid a collision. Now, with the driver vanishing up the road ahead, Jane shakes her head and purses her lips in disapproval. Turning to her passenger, she says, "Drivers like that ought not to be allowed on the road." At this moment, Jane has moved into her parent ego state. When she was little, she'd often sat beside her father as he drove his car and watched him as he showed his disapproval of other drivers' errors by shaking his head and pursing his lips in just that way. A minute or two later, Jane pulls off the road at her office. Looking at her watch, she sees that because of the heavy traffic, she's late for an important meeting with her boss. Her heart sinks, and for a moment she feels panic-stricken. Now Jane has shifted into child ego state. She has contacted old memories of arriving at school late and feeling scared of the punishment she imagined she might get from her school teacher. Her feeling of panic is a response to these old memories, not to anything that's likely to happen in her grown-up situation. At this instant, Jane is not consciously aware that she's replaying her childhood. If you were to ask her, "Does this situation remind you of anything in your childhood?" she might then bring that old schoolroom scene back to conscious memory. Alternatively, she might have buried those painful recollections so thoroughly that she would not be able to remember them immediately. She might have to take longer, even perhaps go into therapy, if she wanted to bring those deeper memories back into consciousness. As she now re-experiences her childhood feelings and thoughts, Jane also shows some behaviours which she first showed all these years ago as a schoolgirl. Her heart races. She lifts her hand to beside her mouth and widens her eyes. From close up, you'd be able to see that she's broken out into a light sweat. Then, after a moment or two, Jane thinks to herself, "Wait a minute, what am I getting scared of? My boss is a reasonable woman. She'll understand why I'm late. Anyway, we can make up the lost time by taking a bit off the coffee break." Jane is back in her adult ego state. Her passenger sees her relax and take her hand away from her mouth. Jane's face breaks into a smile and she laughs. Her laugh is the laugh of the grown-up woman she is. It sounds quite different from the nervous giggle of a scared child. So I hope that's helped explain the PAC model, the parent, adult, child. Oh, it's faded with years of use. And we're going to go on to talk a lot more about that.